It all started with a buzz. Not the kind you get from too much coffee, but a sharp, whining hum that tore through the quiet of my early morning like a jackhammer through a daydream. I was knee-deep in hay, tossing feed to my chickens, the sun barely peeking over the ridge, when that sound hit me high-pitched, mechanical, like a mosquito with a vendetta. I froze, shovel in hand, scanning the sky. At first, I thought maybe my old tractor had finally shorted out. Then I saw it, a shadow creeping across the barn roof, slow and deliberate, like it was hunting. I looked up, and there it was, a sleek, black drone, red lights blinking like the eyes of some sci-fi predator. It hovered right above my chicken coop, 20 feet up, its camera pointed straight at me like I was the star of its creepy home, MOVIE. I waved at it, not the friendly kind, more like the wave you give a jerk who cuts you off on the highway. It didn't budge, just tilted side to side, watching me, judging me. Now, I'm not one for tinfoil hats. I don't think my fridge is spying on me or that aliens are stealing my socks. But this felt wrong, like someone was digitally sniffing around my life. For 2 solid minutes, we had to stare down me, covered in dust and chicken feed, versus this flying robot. Then, with a smug little zip, it shot off toward the horizon, Leah VYing me standing there, bucket in hand, boots caked in poop, and a knot tightening in my gut. The next morning, it came back, and the morning after that. By the end of the week, that drone was my new neighbor, showing up like clockwork dawn, noon, dusk buzzing over my fields, my barn, my life. It got bolder, dipping lower, once hovering outside my outdoor shower while I was mid-scrub. Yeah, country life perk, showering under the stars. Not so great when you've got a flying peeping Tom filming you in your birthday suit. I started timing it. This wasn't random. It was surveillance. Someone was watching me, and I wasn't about to be the star of their nosy reality show. I tried fighting back. Grabbed my old slingshot from middle school last, used to accidentally decapitate a garden gnome and took a shot. Missed obviously. The drone did a mocking loop, like it was laughing at me, then floated off. That afternoon, an email landed in my inbox. No subject, just a PDF titled Notice of BIHA VY Oral Concern, Community Compliance. Here's the thing. I don't live in a community. I own my land, 40 acres of dirt and freedom, passed down from my granddad. I pay my taxes, fix my fences, grow my own food. Nobody tells me how many plastic flamingos I can stick in my yard to. By the way, one with a cowboy hat. But right across my property line, like a bad case of suburban flu, was a shiny new subby VY shown called Willow Creek Estates. Think cookie-cutter houses painted in shades of oatmeal, solar panels powering nothing but decorative fountains, and rules for everything from mailbox height to grass length. That's where she lived. Linda. Yeah, her name was Linda, which felt like the universe handing me a punchline. Linda was the self-proclaimed queen of Willow Creek's Homeowners Association, a woman who once left a passive-aggressive note on my gate because my rooster crowed at 7:01 a.m. She drove a hybrid SUV with a Save the Planet sticker and wore athleisure that screamed, "I'm spiritually aligned, but will ruin your day." She called herself a harmony consultant, but her real job was glaring at the world through her blinds like a hawk with a grudge. And now, apparently, she owned a drone. 2 days later, I caught her at the edge of her property, arms crossed, looking like she'd just finished a kale smoothie and a power walk. "You know," she said, skipping any hello, "some of us moved here for tranquility." Histoire de here. You mean the tranquility my rooster's ruining, or the drone that's stalking my goats? Her smile was so tight it could have cracked walnuts. The drone is for neighborhood oversight. There have been complaints. I laughed loud and sharp. Complaints? From who? The rabbits. She didn't flinch. Your barn's an eyesore. Your livestock structures are unregistered. And your rooster VY OLATs are quiet hours. I leaned in, keeping my voice steady. I don't live in your little utopia, Linda. My granddad's ashes are under that oak tree. Your rules don't own my dirt. She clutched her tablet like a shield. We'll see. The association has legal options. Cooperation is easier. I gave her a nod, the kind you give before double-checking your locks, and walked away. That night, The drone was back, hovering over my porch as I tried to sip coffee and catch a ball game. I could feel a cold, tight pressure in my chest, not from the caffeine, but from the sheer audacity of it all. I stormed into the field, while vying a shovel like a lunatic. The drone just hung there, smug as ever. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about noise or chickens or property values. This was about power. Linda couldn't stand that I existed outside her control. She ran her HOA like a tiny empire, and my freedom was a thorn in her side. She couldn't bully me into submission, so she sent her little robot to do it. I tried the sheriff. Drones ain't illegal, he said, sipping coffee. Not unless they're armed or crashing into your roof. I pressed him. What about filming my house? My shower? He shrugged. Gray area. Laws haven't caught up. You need a lawyer. I didn't want a lawyer. I wanted my sky back. That evening, as the drone made its usual dusk flyby, I stood in my field, watching it zip back to Linda's backyard. I pictured her on her patio, sipping herbal tea, reviewing footage like she was directing a spy thriller. Something in me snapped. No more slingshots. No more yelling. If Linda wanted to play dirty, I'd play smart. I fired up my laptop and typed how to report illegal drone active VY. That's when I found it. The FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. The game had just changed. By week 2, the drone was a ritual, showing up like a creepy co-worker who never takes a hint. It buzzed over my coop before sunrise, circled at noon, and cast long shadows at dusk. I counted 17 VY sits by Tuesday, 22 by Thursday. I stopped counting and started filming. My dog, Rusty, barked himself hoarse. My horse, Daisy, usually calm as a summer breeze, nearly kicked through a fence. The chickens quit laying eggs for 3 days. Even the goats were pacing, and if you've never seen a goat pace, it's like watching a toddler plot revenge. The drone got cockier, following me to the fields, hovering 10 feet behind me like a hungry buzzard. One night, it lingered outside my kitchen window while I washed dishes, its red light blinking like a cyclops. My niece, Ellie, 12 and sharp as a tack, was VY's sighting for the summer. She was sketching on the couch when she looked up and saw it. She screamed, bolted to me, and I flung open the door, flashlight in hand. The drone zipped away before I could do anything. That was it. I could handle being harassed. I could handle my rooster being slandered. But scaring Ellie in my own home? That was war. I logged onto the neighborhood app, a place I hadn't touched since someone complained about suspicious cow noises at midnight. Linda had been busy. She'd posted blurry drone shots of my barn, my pasture, even me by the coop, circled in red like I was a wanted man. The title, Concerned About Agricultural Mismanagement Near Willow Creek. Her HOA minions piled on, tossing around terms like VY soil pollution and community disruption. One guy, Chad, suggested reporting me for environmental violations. Another claimed they'd heard yelling. Yeah, that was me yelling at the drone. Apparently, that counted. Ellie saw the post before I did. She didn't say much, just asked to sleep with the light on. I nodded, my jaw tight. I called the sheriff again, sent him my VY Deos, timestamps, everything. Still not illegal, he said, sounding tired. Not unless it's touching your land. It's a gray area. I gritted my teeth. So, she can fly a camera into my shower as long as it doesn't land on the soap? He shifted uncomfortably. Look, you need a lawyer. I didn't need a lawyer. I needed peace. The tension was suffocating. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., certain I heard buzzing, only to find it was a cicada. I built a tar blind for my shower, but a gust of wind tore it down in 3 days. Linda caught that on camera too, posting it with the caption, Erecting Unpermitted Structures. Her nerve was surgical. She wasn't just invading my space, she was weaponizing bureaucracy. One night, I sat at the kitchen table, legal pad in hand, scribbling options. Sue her? Tempting but slow. Hire my own drone? Fun, but I didn't want an air war. Train pigeons to attack? I actually watched a documentary on World War II carrier birds, but it led nowhere. Then I remembered something my buddy Mike said over poker. He'd been fined for flying a drone near an airport, and the FAA didn't mess around. That was my lifeline. Past midnight, I typed FAA drone violation report into Google. The screen lit up with FAA Form 21 to 14, a digital beacon. A soft knock interrupted me. Ellie stood in the doorway, blanket draped like a cape. "Uncle, can you turn on the porch light?" "Just tonight." I nodded, flipped the switch, and went back to work. I barely slept, not from the droning it didn't show, but from a new kind of buzz, strategy. I dove into the FAA's website, a maze of legal jargon and regulations. Section 107 was gold. Part 107.39 stood out. You can't fly a drone over people without their consent. Not for fun, not for neighborhood oversight, not even if you're HOA royalty in yoga pants. I took notes like I was prepping for court. The next morning, I set up on the porch with Rusty, a GoPro on the fence, and my phone ready. At 7:12 a.m., the drone came humming over the ridge, Linda's flying enforcer. It hovered, dipped, circled. I didn't yell. I sipped my coffee, filmed every second every time it dropped below roofline, crossed my field, or flew over me. When it zipped back to Willow Creek, I uploaded the footage to the FAA's portal, attached Form 21 of 14, and wrote, "Unlicensed UAS active VY, Thai VY, OLADing FAA Regulation 107.39. Repeated flights over human beings without consent. Operator suspected at Linda's address." Click. Submit. It felt small, just a mouse click, but I knew it was a spark that could ignite a firestorm. I didn't stop there. I filmed every flyby porch, barn, Ellie's window. I used a cheap radar app to track its distance. One clip caught it zipping over Rusty while he napped. Technically a Lee VY-ing being under FAA rules. Boom. I filed a privacy complaint with the State Attorney General under the CIVYL Harassment Act. I found a drone hobbyist group online, and a guy named Spinner Sam helped me geofence my property with an app. If Linda's drone had GPS safeties, it'd be forced to return home. If she overrode it, that was another fine. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. "Mr. Carter, this is Agent Walsh from the FAA's Unmanned Aircraft Systems DVY Shown." My heart skipped. He'd re-VY-EU'd my footage, confirmed the drone was registered, and said Linda had already gotten an informal warning. My report pushed it to a formal notice of violation. Fines and license revocation were on the table. I sat back, grinning. Federal backup felt like the cavalry riding in. The next day, the sky was quiet. No bus, no blinking lights. Rusty napped without flinching. Ellie sketched on the porch, fearless. I wasn't naive, though. Linda wouldn't quit easily. So I strolled to Willow Creek, staying on the public sidewalk, arms crossed. Linda was in her garden, hammering a tacky blessed sign into the mulch. She saw me and froze. I smiled. "Lost something? Haven't seen your drone lately." Her eyes narrowed. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone. "The FAA does." Her lips pressed into a line sharp enough to cut glass. "You think this is over?" she hissed. I leaned in. "No, Linda. This is the part where the credits roll." I walked back to my truck, Rusty wagging in the passenger seat, VY Tory in the air. A certified FAA letter arrived, mis-delivered to me, meant for Linda. I dropped it in her mailbox the next morning, her blinds twitching as I left. The day after, a for sale sign went up on her lawn. Eco-luxury Lee VY-ing, motivated seller. I didn't gloat, not outwardly but inside. I was dancing through fields of justice. When the MOVYing trucks arrived, I was fixing a gate latch. Ellie was painting stars on Rusty's doghouse, humming a pop tune, obliquely VY us to the saga's climax. Linda stood on her porch, snapping at movers who looked ready to quit. One dropped a box labeled "Crystals Fragile," and her screech could have shattered glass. The drone, her weapon, was packed into a case, sealed like a defeated VY Lane's sword. It hadn't flown since the FAA's call. 3 days later, Linda was gone. Her house sold, rumors saying she fled to Nevada for a wellness journey. I figured the desert just had fewer people to report her. Life on the farm settled. The hens laid eggs again. Daisy munched hay, calm as ever. Ellie finished a comic called Saw Sky Wars, Uncle versus. The Air Queen saw, and I hung in the kitchen. The biggest win was the quiet, not just the lack of buzzing, but the return of peace, of owning my space without a fight. I kept the FAA forms in a folder labeled Sky Crimes, bookmarked the complaint portal, and nailed a no drone zone sign to my fence. It wasn't about stopping anyone. It was about drawing a line. One evening, Ellie sat beside me on the porch, sipping root beer. "Uncle, what if the FAA hadn't helped?" I thought about the sheriff's shrugs, the sleepless nights, the feeling of my sky being stolen. "I'd have found another way," I said. "But I'm glad they did. Sometimes justice is paperwork. Sometimes it's just saying enough." She nodded, wiser than her years. Then she grinned. "Can I fly a drone here?" "A nice one." I raised an eyebrow. "Only if Rusty's the pilot." She laughed, and as the sun sank, painting the fields gold, I leaned back, breathing in hay, cedar, and VY Tory. Linda never owned the sky. She borrowed it, abused it, and lost it. Me? I live under it, work under it, protect it. Let the next Air Queen try. So what do you think? Was I right to take Linda down with paperwork? Or should I have fought fire with fire and gotten my own drone? Is the FAA the ultimate weapon against nosy neighbors, or just a slow bureaucratic hammer? And what would Saw do if someone flew a drone over your life, let it slide, or go full sky warrior? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you felt the justice, and subscribe for more stories where the little guy fights back. Let's keep this conversation buzzing.